Some of you may have seen that former Sunweb and Groupama FDJ rider Georg Preidler has been charged with criminal fraud in Austria for his role in the Operation Aderlass doping inquiry and for he's accused of blood doping and using growth hormones since about 2017. This Cycling News article sets out some of the background to it. Also, if you want to listen to my podcast, the Rouge Report, on Spotify and Anchor, I go in for about 10 minutes, I think, and talk about Operation Aderlass and what's going on with that. But what really caught my attention in the last 24 hours, and what really is the topic of this video, is the fact that Team Sunweb have come out and publicly said that if these accusations are true, that these are new accusations that Preidler doped while he was at Sunweb, not just at FDJ. He's accused of doping during the Giro d'Italia 2017 when he was a key domestique for Tom Dumoulin when he won the Giro 2017. And I believe this was first reported by Pim Biel in the AD paper. It's a national Dutch paper. And the crux of what Sunweb have said to him, or they've put on the record now, is they are threatening to sue Georg Preidler if these accusations are true for damaging the image of the team based on what a clause they had in their contract. And some of you may be thinking, why would any rider agree to have such a broad clause in their contract that permits the team to sue them if they harm the image of the team? Well, that's because Sunweb, amongst other teams, are part of this organisation called the Movement for Credible Cycling. And the MPCC is a voluntary opt-in organisation. It was initially created, I think, by Sunweb, they'll call it a different name then, Ajuda Mondial, Education First, whatever the name was then, and FDJ back in 2007. And one of the most notable rules or additional rules above those prescribed by the UCI and WADA, if you're part of the MPCC, is that you can't use corticosteroids like triamcinolone or race day treatments like that and compete the day of or within 8 days of taking those treatments. Or if you have low cortisol levels like George Bennett did in 2013, you can't race. You can see the current members, the 7 World Tour teams that are part of the MPCC here. One of them is obviously Team Sunweb. And now I just want to present my opinion on how counterproductive what Team Sunweb have threatened, how counterproductive some of those rules are to anti-doping. So these are the MPCC internal rules in English. This is not translated from Google Translate, this is pulled off their website. These, by the way, are terrible rules. They're very poorly written, and if I was a director sportif or a manager of a team, there is no way I would agree that my team would be subject to these rules unless they were rewritten. They're vague and ambiguous in certain places, they're contradictory, and given that the MPCC is opt-in, there's no way I'd want my team to be signed up to them. But anyway, let's get to Rule 5. This is the key rule, and this is what Sunweb are going to use, or the reason why Sunweb had this in their contract. Teams commit as of now to make sure that all riders' contracts include a clause or an amendment specifying that they may be prosecuted, as in the rider, to obtain damages and compensation for the harm done to the image in the team. And teams must put this clause into each contract upon signing up to MPCC. It says at the top, all teams willing to be MPCC members must commit to the following, so they must include that clause in their contract. Now let's take an example and talk about why this rule is so counterproductive to anti-doping and preventing doping in the future. Let's assume I'm a rider, I'm pack fit, I'm an average to good domestique like Georg Preidler. I'm not winning many races, I'm not a Grand Tour contender. I make enough money to get by, but not too much, and I'm certainly not set for life financially. Throughout my career, on and off, this fictional rider's engaged in blood doping as well as using growth hormone for certain key races. And by the time they've retired, they were never caught, they've never triggered a positive test, and their bio-passport looks fine to everyone involved. Some time passes after the rider's retirement, and they feel guilty. They're looking in the mirror and they want to help the anti-doping effort. They're not too happy about what they did during their career, and they don't want future younger riders to have to feel like that's an option for them. And they want to talk to WADA, talk to anti-doping authorities, talk to MPCC about their experiences with doping, how they managed to beat the tests. Georg Preidler didn't get popped for a positive test, I don't think, so that their experience can improve anti-doping efforts in the future. By now the rider's got a mortgage, a wife, 2 kids, he's now trying to rebuild his career or build a different career after cycling. But just as he's about to call WADA and say, hey listen, I can help you with the anti-doping efforts, he realises that in his contract with one of his previous teams who were signed up to the MPCC, he agreed this clause that his team would sue him for damages, or could sue him for damages if he harmed the image of the team. He remembers that Team Sunweb, when Georg Preidler was getting piled on and is facing criminal accusations of fraud, that Sunweb said, we're going to sue this guy. And the rider realises that he can't really afford to fund litigation defense proceedings. That would put him under a lot of financial strain. So you know what he does? He says nothing. So this Rule 5 in the MPCC rules actually contributes to the emerger in cycling. All I think it does is reinforce the imperative that if you are doping, never talk about it. even if you're in good faith trying to confess afterwards. Separately, I have some thoughts about whether Sunweb or MPCC would even be able to sue successfully under that clause. MPCC seem to think that they're able to sue riders who've been caught doping or confessed to doping for harming the image of cycling. Don't know where they got that from. And I kind of think the owners should go back on the team. Sunweb released this weird statement, and you can see where I've highlighted. They were explaining, oh, but Preidler was really good domestique for you guys in the Giro 2017. Why didn't you renew his contract? And they said, oh, had nothing to do with his biopassport data at all. It was because he just didn't really fit into with the team, and we couldn't count on him and rely on agreements together. And when you conflate that with Tom Dumoulin's also strange statement in like notes on his phone, very strange, where he speaks about the change in Preidler that he noticed and presumably the team management noticed, and yet no one seemed to do anything, no one connected it to doping when Preidler became more withdrawn. All very strange to me, and if I was Dumoulin and Sunweb, I probably wouldn't be kicking up such a fuss about kicking Preidler when he's down. Anyway, comment down below what you think. Tom Dumoulin's obviously leaving the MPCC next year when he's going from Sunweb to Jumbo-Visma. Like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. Comment down below if you'd actually like to see anything else on Operation Aderlass. Check out the Rouge report, and a fun fact to end on, the only MPCC rider to win the Tour de France since its inception in 2007, I believe, is Vincenzo Nibali. Ciao.